everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Little Italy of Los Angeles podcast. Lovely guest that I'd like to introduce you to, Patricia Di Carlo Bergen, joining us from Dana Point, California. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's lovely. And what you've started, your business, which is called
Casa Jove.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. I've been, thumbing through your Instagrams and just reading all about your business and the purpose of Casa Jove. Why don't you tell us why you started this? Because I think a lot of people can learn quite a bit from it. Please.
Well, I started it just out of a desire to share what I grew up with, which was just a lovely process, a lovely process to living. Both my parents immigrated here from Italy, and I would go back with my mother often to see her family, and it was just so good for my soul to be around my family and to see them bring this lovely intention to each step. And one of the things that I really enjoyed the most was going to the market. There was a neighborhood market, really in all the little towns. And so I missed that here. I missed that interaction and that authenticity. And so I thought, well, why can't I bring that to my community? And that's what I've been in the process of doing for the last couple of years.
I love that. So when you say you would go to the market, right, with your aunt and your mom, first of all, what region? Where was that in Italy?
Campania. So in the
Campania.
southern part of Italy, yes, it's beautiful there.
And that's where mom was born, right? Mom and dad, or mom?
Yes, my dad was born in the Lazio region, but it was kind of like in between Napoli and Rome. And so I think I was in the most beautiful part of Italy, for my summers. It was wonderful.
Oh, wow. So you went back there most summers then with your family?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Why did your family come here in the first place?
Well, things were tough in Italy right after World War II, and father's family was really struggling. And so my great uncle actually came here to just provide a better situation for his family. And, and then my mom actually just came here to visit. She had some cousins that lived in California, and it was just, they went to go see her, and they felt that she needed to kind of see the world. And it was a really hard step for my mom, but she did it. She was brave, and she came out here. And she definitely was planning on going back to Italy, but she met my father, who had firm roots here now, and they fell in love, and so that was it.
Wasn't this down over at San Pedro, right?
San Pedro, yes, and that's how I connected back with Little Italy of Los Angeles. Was just wanting to reconnect with my roots as I came up with this idea. And so I'm just so happy to be a part of this podcast today.
Yeah, so are we. We're just thrilled. Tell us more about your life. You have two sons, and you've made sure to uphold your Italian traditions, right? The Mediterranean lifestyle. Let's talk a little bit about that, because as you say, what's most important is the dinner time, right? Making the time for dinner, which so many Americans, and I say Americans because I think it's primarily here in America, we just don't do it, right? If a kid has practice at 5, then Tommy will eat at 5 and the other one will eat at 7 and somebody else is eating at 9. And that never really felt right to me. So talk to me a little bit about the lifestyle you're hoping that more people will adopt here.
Right. So for me, that was what my mother so beautifully modeled as I was growing up. And although we don't need to get into it, I have had quite a few people in my family who have passed away. And that's hard and that's sad. But throughout those struggles, my mom just made this, she was just very intent on, we eat dinner together, and this is our time to come together and to share just the hard parts about our day, the easy parts about our day, and just to nourish our bodies and to connect. And so that was something that really comforted me throughout my time of growing up, and something that I really craved and enjoyed. And when I would go back to Italy, being around a table for hours was just one of the most beautiful and fun things, because those dinners last forever, and it's just very lively conversation and yummy food. And so that was something that with my family, I thought, okay, I'm really going to make this part of what we do. And thankfully, my husband was on board. The boys, they love to eat, and that was really fun. I knew I needed boys. It's so fun to feed them. And so we made that commitment, and it has been so great for our family. Um, and it isn't always easy to do because there is practice. And I remember one year practice for moved up to 5 o'clock, and I just felt this like, oh gosh, it's going to slip away. But my husband and I spoke, and we're like, okay, not a big deal. We'll push dinner back. And so we would have like a heartier lunch. They'd have snacks. They'd come home from swim practice, and it was a late dinner, but it was dinner together. And it was just so fun to share about our days, and, the good things, the bad things, and work through all of that together.
I think that's the number one place to do that, is at the dinner table. And you're right. And sometimes, just sometimes, you can't do that, right? In which case you make sure that on the weekends you can do it. Or to your point, a breakfast, even if it's a breakfast, if possible, or a lunch or something, right? And even if you can't do it 7 days a week, at least designate 1 or 2 days a week. You agree?
Right. I mean, it's never too early to start, never too late to start, and too small or too big. We were all in, and we were able to make that happen for the most part. But I understand that that might not be the case for everyone, and there's beauty in all those different situations, right? It doesn't have to look one way. And so I just encourage all families to set aside some time. And it doesn't even have to be a home cooked meal. Obviously, a home cooked meal, there's something more special about that. But there are times where we're, running ragged from here to there. And so my husband will pick up something, and we'll just unwrap it all at the table, and it's the same thing. We're still talking, we're still interacting, we're still enjoying our food.
Now, you're a cook, aren't you?
I love cooking.
You love
that's
cooking.
something that my mom also passed down to me. She was actually the youngest of 5, and they lived on a farm, and her job was to cook for everyone. And so she started cooking at a very young age. When she came here, and I would just be at her side all the time, and just prepping things, and it brought me so much joy. And so I really really enjoy. In fact, funny thing, when my husband and I were first married, he he was used to cooking for himself. Obviously, I loved cooking for myself. And I can remember that first week of being together, and he started to work on dinner, and I was just like, but that's what I want to do. And I think he realized that that's my way of showing love. And so he grills, but I do the rest, because it's so important and special to me. So
Plus, I'm sure you cook together at times too, because I think that's a lot of fun,
yes,
right? To be in the kitchen together, right?
Yes, we are in the kitchen a lot. And now that my boys are into it, they're at school, and so they have to cook for themselves. Um, they now come home and like, hey, can we practice? Or can you tell me a little bit about, this process or that process? And so we all cook together. And it is a really fun thing.
And you also told me that because it was such a routine and a happy routine in your home, your sons who are away at college will often call you when they're on their way to the dining hall, right? Just to talk as though you're together in the kitchen, right?
Right. It's just something that became such a big part of our day. And the same thing with me and my mom. So a lot of times I will call my mom as I'm getting dinner ready, and she'll say, oh, what are you making? You must be starting dinner. How are things going? And so it's just a really special part of our day.
And the idea of Casa Jove, did I say that right?
Casa Jove. It's with
Jove.
a
Oh my
soft
goodness.
G. Yes. No,
Please
Great.
correct me if I don't say it right.
Okay.
The idea behind Casa Jove
Perfect.
is cooking with obviously authentic ingredients. And many of the people who watch our podcast, they're Italian and they know that, right? It's a sin not to do that. But a lot of people don't do that and they find cooking to be complicated. Cooking doesn't have to be complicated, right? You just get some key simple ingredients, right? And what would those be that generally would make almost anything taste good?
Well, anything that's fresh. So, any fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, obviously fresh pasta, fresh breads, all those things. But obviously, that's really hard to do too, And so it's all about. Obviously, it's great to have a list when you go to a market and to have a recipe, something in your mind. But I do believe that there's this importance to leaving room for improvising, leaving room for what's the word? Oh, to be inspired, right? And so when I go to the store, I kind of have this loose idea of what I'm going to get. But if a basket of fresh tomatoes is just, in all of its glory, heirloom tomatoes, and they're looking so fresh and just ready, I'm going to build something around that. And it's probably going to be something really simple, like just a tomato salad. Just chop it up, put some fresh basil, some fresh garlic, and some really good extra virgin olive oil, and that's all that you really need. There are times where something that's more complex is, obviously delicious, but oftentimes it's the simplest things that are really what you keep coming back for.
And a lot of times I grew up where my mom and I would go to a small Italian market, which is what I know is the idea of your market, right? That you're working to build here. Right. But if in fact you live in a place where there's not a small Italian market, I love what you did over at Albertsons, right? You're nearby Albertsons. So people, you don't have to just go to the little Italian market in the neighborhood because there might not be one. But you can go to your Ralph's, you can go to your Albertsons, your Gelsons, and tell us, what did you do? Because this is great.
So, you can make little conscious steps towards just that community feeling. And so a lot of times I'll walk to the market, and even that is something, in Italy you walk places. And so I'll walk to my market, and when I get there, if there's something that I'm looking for or wondering about, I actually asked the produce manager one day. I said, "Oh gosh, I'm looking for radicchio and I don't see it. What's going on?" And he was like, "Oh, you know what? Gosh, we haven't had that in a while, but I'm so glad that you mentioned that that's something that you're looking for, because I'll be sure to order that for you." And it was just such a sweet little moment. And it really just brought back that time of me going to the market in Italy and interacting with the shopkeeper and with the other shoppers. And, sometimes it's just a simple thing as just picking up your head and smiling, asking a question. I've had people, I'm very finicky about what I'm getting, and sometimes people see me kind of like thinking, and they're like, "Oh, what are you making tonight with that?" And sometimes, maybe being in America, we might be kind of put off by that, like you're kind of invading my space. But to me, it's just bringing back just this joy of shopping in Italy. And so I'll share a little bit about what I'm doing, and then they'll say, "Oh, what's really worked for me is this, this, and this." And then that'll give me a new idea and inspire me. And it's just a great process. And so that's
it's very interactive, right? It's lovely because that's what the joy of food is all about. And going to the market, you talk to, the local butcher and the local person working at the market, with the vegetables. And I love the interaction there. And I think you're right. Very often in America, people will get put off. They're like, "Wait a minute. This is my space over by the tomatoes." But I'm a little like you. I encourage it. And sometimes I'm looking around for somebody to talk to, and right, because that's what we do, isn't it? That's just what we do. So
I remember one time there was a particular cut of steak that I was looking for, and they didn't have it. And so I asked the butcher, and this was at a Ralph's. I said, you know, I'm looking for this. Do you have any? He didn't have any. And he said, can you tell me a little bit about what you're making? And so I described the dish. And he said, you know, I really think this would work very well with that. And that's now what I do every time for this one particular meal. And
Oh, I love that.
yeah, it is. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. You also talk about, and again, a lot of this is on your Instagram, people. You talk about the importance of seasoning, which was very important to mom. A simple salad. A salad doesn't just have to be lettuce and some dressing, right? But a simple salad done right. Why don't you talk to us about that?
Well, the first salad that I could actually like just really remember loving so much was one of my summers in Italy. My cousin said, let's walk over to the garden. So we walked over to the garden and they picked a couple of oranges off of a tree in the garden. And then they went and they picked these little leaves and my mom calls it pirchichelle, which now I've been searching for years, but now I know that the name of this is purslane. And really it's like a weed and it kind of grows in between rocks. And so I thought it was kind of bizarre when they did this. But I was like, hey, you know, this is my summer and I'm with my cousins and I'm going with it. And so we brought those items back home and they just quickly did a little rinse and they placed the plate out and they put in the pirchichelle and then they put some sections of orange and then drizzled it with olive oil and some salt. And they did like a quick toss. And I remember biting into that salad and just being like, this is the best thing I've ever had.
Well, because they also sprinkled it with a little bit of love, right?
Right.
A little bit of love. And
Right.
I love, but notice how simple that was. You just pick
Right.
something. Now, people, you don't have to have a big garden, right? That's always lovely. But you can grow things out of pots. I know my grandmother did, right? Where she lived in a little apartment when they finally came here over from Italy. They had very little money, and she would grow whatever she could out of a pot. And she even had a larger pot where she would grow lemons, right? I guess it was a little lemon tree. I don't know, but she grew whatever she could. So you don't even have to have a large garden, you know. Oh, what is your thought also on vertical gardens? They become sort of a big deal here. What do you think?
I want one. That's my thought. I have a really good friend who just posted a picture of her vertical garden, and I'm hoping to see her this summer. And I just saw it, and I was like, I have to have that. It's amazing, right?
You know, I first saw that. Where was I? I was at the Sunset Gower movie studio, right? That's one of the like original movie studios here in Hollywood. And they have lots of vertical gardens there. And they're just like little towers, right? And this one was 6 feet tall. And one was growing lettuce, one was growing, and I thought, gosh. And I went into the little commissary that they had there, and the woman was Italian. And she said, I like to grow everything fresh. I thought that was really cool. That's when I first learned a few years ago about vertical gardens. They've since become a lot more popular, but they're pretty easy. You don't need a lot of space at all, right?
Right. No, it's a great idea.
Good. I hope I'm inspiring you now to go and get one, right? I hope so. Tell me more about, you actually recently partnered with, was it JCrew?
I did.
I mean, come on, that's like such a big deal. So you're just I think you just walk into places and you start talking to people, and next thing you know, you're partnering up. So tell me about that.
It was really fun. I've always loved JCrew. I can remember the very first thing that I ever bought there, and so every once in a while I go in, and this one particular time I was making a return, and I had one of my Casa Jove totes with me, and it had the return in it. And the person who was helping me was just lovely, and she said, "Oh, I really love your tote," and it kind of like took me back a second because I was like, what is she talking about? Like I almost forgot that I had that tote with me. And I said, oh, this tote. And she said, yeah, I really love your tote. And where did you get it? And I hesitated because I was like, oh gosh, now I'm going to have to like tell her the whole story of what I'm doing and everything. But she persisted because I kind of just, you know, said, oh, here, this is what I'm looking to return. And she said, no, I really want to know about your tote. And so I told
Wow.
a little bit about the company and what I was trying to do, the purpose of it. And she said, oh, well, at JCrew, we do these artisan events. Would you be interested in doing something like that? And I had never heard about it. And so I asked her a little bit about it. And then we set up a time to meet. And we went through the different products that I wanted to bring and, you know, what she thought of them. And she had to submit something to corporate and it got approved. And so I was able to
Wow.
come in and do a little event, and it was really fun.
I think it's extraordinary because very often, as you said, she had to submit it to corporate. Corporate would say no, but I love that they went for it right away. What are some of the products that you have currently? Are you selling any products currently, even though your market isn't up and running yet?
The only thing that I have currently are the totes and these kitchen towels that have our logo, which I think is a really beautiful logo that a former student of mine created. And that's about it. There were plans for some other items because I was going to continue doing the artisan events at JCrew, but then with everything that hit, that all kind of took a back seat. And so hopefully I'll be able to get started again because I have some plans for some different totes. There's actually some food products that I'd love to share. And so we'll see.
Like
I even have
like
a
what?
cutting
What
board.
what kind of food products? Can you give us a little glimpse?
There's actually this really, so most people are familiar with Nutella, but there's this beautiful a similar version to it, but it's made out of pistachios, and it's a pistachio
Oh,
cream, and it is so yummy. And I would love to be able to share that. And I'm trying to think because there are a couple of things. Actually, we'll just wait because there's a couple of other things, but I'm just not really sure if I'm going to be able to make that happen. So we'll see.
you should really come down. We have the Little Italy Farmers Market every Friday, and you really should come and sell your totes and your dish towels. You'll probably sell out though, but don't do that because I want to order a tote or two, and I want to order some kitchen towels. I really do. So don't keep a couple aside for me. But you should do that and get to know our community up there. That'd be really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I actually came up one Friday and it was really fun. I had a great time. And so I am hoping to do that soon.
Yeah.
My mindset with everything, you know, closed down and it's just kind of getting back up and running with all of that. I had so many ideas and so many plans. Um, and you know, struggle happens and we learn and grow from it. And so I kind of had to like turn that off in a way just to refocus and help out my sons with all that they were transitioning through. um, but I'm looking forward to getting back into it, and thank you because your kindness and all of that, it really does help me to kind of like, okay, I need to move forward.
Yeah, well, a lot of us have had to take a couple of seats back, right? But
Right.
still, you inspire me because one thing that you live by, very simple: slow down, slow down, make the simple salad, make a soup, check your ingredients, talk to your local grocer. We don't do that enough. I don't do that enough, and that's the big message I get from you, and also a woman who is going to continue going. I mean, if you can get JCrew to sponsor an event, I believe that soon enough your market will be up and running. Is that still your goal, to have the
Yes.
market up? Hmm.
Yes, I would be just elated to be able to bring that to my community and to have just to be able to share my message and a bigger audience to share that message with would be just my greatest joy.
Well, please keep us updated because we need this type of market, and we need it down there as well. I know Dana Point well enough, and I don't really know where there's a small Italian market with authentic ingredients and products. So I very much look forward to that happening. So anything else you'd like to add for our audience, how they can find you? Because I love your Instagram in particular. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much. So my Instagram handle for the business is Casa Jove, California, which is kind of a mouthful, but I'm sure you'd be able to find it. Just if you start spelling out Casa, and then Jove is Giove, and then California. And then also my personal Instagram, a lot of the items are linked, but that's and say hello, and that really does go with my messaging, because it's all about just interacting, and so taking a moment to say hello to someone, or to just look up and smile, is just a really big part of what is important to me, and what I think we need to model for others as well.
I agree. Take a little bit of Italy here over to America, where in the villages and even the cities where we're from, we connect. So I love that you're bringing that here. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you.
Thank you
so much. I really appreciate that you took the time to really listen and hear my message. And I love the way that you were able to translate that. I feel like there are a lot of people who crave that and want that. And I'm so appreciative when someone really gets it. And after we talked briefly earlier this week, I told my husband, she gets it.
I do get it. Yeah.
I just really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind, Patricia Di Carlo Bergen. Thank you so much. And will you keep us updated? Please keep us updated on the progress of the market. And also, if you're heading up to the farmers market, I may even go this week, this Friday or next Friday. I finally have a little time where I can do that. And I'm comfortable now going out. I got vaccinated and I'm comfortable being out now and seeing other people. So I may head there the next couple of weeks myself. So I hope to see you there as well.
Oh, me too. Have a lovely day.
You too. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. It was such a pleasure to interview Patricia on our Little Italy of Los Angeles podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Zara Kobylt, and we look forward very much to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.